Hi, good morning. Robert Medlin. Years ago, my wife and I had the privilege of conducting a marriage seminar for a friend of ours at another church. And we just had a great time. And during the course of the seminar, he asked me if we would be available to counsel with a couple that had just given up on their marriage and were already separating and planning to get a divorce. It was just, they just couldn't work it out. It was just impossible. And so we said, sure, if they're willing to meet with us, we'll be willing to meet with them. So he arranged it, and they were willing, and so we got together, and they were just amazingly cold. They were just sitting there about as far away from each other as they could get, and they just had a depressed look on their faces, and like, I'm doing this just on obedience to the Lord, but get me out of here as soon as you can. So anyway, it was just it's looked like an impossible situation, but what we did and is to begin to tell them to do the things that will bring love into a marriage and rekindle the fire in a marriage. Jesus, in speaking to the church and the Christians in the book of Revelation chapter 2, he's speaking to the church at Ephesus. He said, you've left your first love. He said, do the things you did at first. And so what I told the man to do, as I said, I want you to just do what I tell you to do, and without questioning, or just do it. He said, okay. So I said, I want you to look at your wife, and I want you to tell her, you're the most wonderful woman in the whole world. And so he turned around and looked at her and he says, you're the most wonderful woman in the whole world. I said, now tell her, you're an awesome wife. And he looked at her and he said, you're an awesome wife. And I said, then I said, you're just beautiful. You're just more beautiful today than when I first met you. And he looked at her and he said, you're more beautiful today than when I first met you. And so we just went along in that vein, and I said, I really love you. And so he said, I really love you. And then I had the woman repeat the same things, and as I was doing that, and you could just see that they were starting to soften. That chisel look on their face, that hard look on their face, just began to soften. And when you first meet, and you're when you first fall in love, you just can't wait to get back together with each other. You just are on the phone. You're talking to each other constantly. You just everything the other person does is just wonderful, and you just your wife is the best cook. Your wife is so beautiful. She just has such she keeps house so beautifully, so wonderfully, and everything you see is just awesome. And so the same way from the wife, she just sees her husband as just loving her, and she just totally before they got married, just totally in love with him, mainly because of his love for her. But and so we were just doing basically what they did at first. And so I told him, I said, now I want you to reach over and hold her hand. And so he just reached over and grabbed her hand, and she was willing, and just as they made more and more contact, as they just began to do and say the things that they did at the very beginning before they ever got married, when they first fell in love, that hardness just began to melt from their faces. The softness came. They weren't trying to get as far away from each other as they could. And then I had him, I said, I want you to just put your arm around your wife. And so he put his arm around her, and she was willing, and then I said, now I want you to kiss her on the cheek. And so he kissed her on the cheek. And then eventually I told him, I want you to just kiss her real lightly on the lips. And he did. And he said, and just keep reaffirming. I had him keep reaffirming those things that you say to each other when you're first engaged, when you first meet, when you first fall in love. That infatuation that you just can't see anything but the most wonderful. Everything about that person just is wonderful. And so what happens in a marriage is people just get cold, and they get wounded, or they get lazy, or stresses of life come in, and other people come in. You get children coming in, and so those distractions and everything just robs you of that quality time that you had, that quality affection that you had at the very beginning, and those expressions of love, those special cards, those special poems, special notes, special calls, special touches, those things you just kind of neglect them, and pretty soon the love just seems cold and stale. But really, Jesus said, he just said, you need to get back to your first love. He said, go ahead and do the things you did at first. So I believe if you'll just think about what you did at the beginning when you first fell in love, when you first agreed to get married with each other, and think about those things, the things that you did, the things that you said, the way that you looked at her, the time you spent with her versus time with the TV, those quality times together. Just begin to think about those things that caused you to fall in love, that were your expressions of love at the very beginning when you first had that fire of love. And just if you'll begin to do those little things, you'll find that the fire of love will be rekindled in your marriage, and it'll be just like you're a new person and your wife is a new person. Just begin to tell her how beautiful she is, how much you love her, how thankful you are for her, what a great mother she is, what a great wife she is, what a great housekeeper she is, what a great cook she is, how just everything she does is just so awesome. And the husbands will do that, and the wives will just respond in similar fashion and saying the things that her husband, you're so handsome, you just are so caring and affectionate, and you're such a good father, and you're such a good, wonderful husband, and you just take such good care of us, and I'm just so thankful for you, and so thankful for your faith in Jesus. And so you begin to say things like that, and you begin to do those things that you did and said at first. You'll find that fire really, really roaring, and that love rekindled. And I know this will be a blessing to you, whether you're in good shape with your marriage, or whether you've just kind of gotten a little cold, or whether you've gotten really cold. I know this is going to be a great blessing to you. May the Lord Jesus just pour out His Spirit on your relationship, on your marriage, bless your marriage, and just enable you to experience that rekindling of the fire of love that you had when you first fell in love and got married. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.